Good evening. Welcome to Amud Yomi the Amud Yomi today, Maseches Shabbos. Today's Amud, but the Dirsha cycle is Kuf Amud Beis. We are still in Kuf Amud Aleph in the bottom of the page, and we're going to soon catch up. Cheers for the Hatzlocha and the Hatzolo of all of Klal Yisrael, L'Ilu Nishmas, all the kidnapped people who are dead, Lo Aleinu, and L'Ilu Nishmas of Imoyri, Menachem ben Akiva. Yeah, Zog the Mishnah. Zorok L'toch Dal Adamis. A person threw an item from a certain place into Daladamas, meaning that his trajectory, the object, is not supposed to move, from within Daladamas. So that's okay, right? He's throwing it within Daladamas. When he's Galgen Chutz Daladamas, then the wind took it, or now the force, let's say the wind, as we'll see later, and the wind schlepped it outside Daladamas. Okay, then he's Potu, right? Because it sounds like quite simple. As far as he's concerned, it landed within Dalid, right? And then the wind took it further. That's not my business, so it's Potu. Now, the opposite. It's not exactly what's going on here, but that's a Poshup shot. Chutz Daladamis, he threw it outside Daladamis. When he's Galgil Letoch Daladamis, then he's Chayiv. Yeah, look at that. Yeah, I'll show you soon. What happens when, this is Daladamis. He's throwing it outside Daladamis. Yeah, and let's say it wasn't Munach over here. Yeah, and then this Galgel, the wind took it back to within Daladamis, and he landed within Daladamis, right? But originally, it flew further away than Daladamis, which is bad. So even though later on it flew back to within Daladamis, which should be a happy end, is Chayev. In other words, we always go by the first motion, not by what happened later by the wind or other forces. L'choiro, this is quite simple. It's not a chiddush. Of course, once I'd finished my job, if I threw it within Daladamis, I'm good. Who cares what the wind did later? And if I threw it outside Daladamis, then of course, I'm a bad boy. I don't care that later on it went back to you can't undo it, right? Elamai, before we even start the Mishnah, Rashi is already telling us, we're talking here, it didn't fall into the ground. In other words, in both cases, this is like the wind holding it mid-air, right? And it wasn't munach. I wrote here hanacha with an X. Yeah, it flew outside Daladamis, which is bad news, but there was no hanacha. There was no hanacha. Wow. And still you're chayev, even though it went back there and landed over there, you're still chayev, even though there's no hanacha. And the question is, frag the Gemara, v'aloi nach. Frag the Gemara, what you're all thinking, I can read your minds. V'aloi nach. Let's talk about case number 2. What do you want from my life? I threw it, bad. I'll try to do something bad. What happened? I really threw it all the way outside Daladamis, but it didn't rest there. We all know about 10 times we learned already, you need a kir and anocho. So why you mechayiv the person if you didn't rest there, but rather the wind schlepped it back into within the range of Daladamis for less than Daladamis, so that's where it landed at the end, so why am I chayiv? It did rest over something very small. Meaning, here comes the business. Look at that. This is Gimel Tfochim. If within 3 Tfochim to the ground, which is Lovud, right? This came and landed either according to Rambam and some Rishonim, it landed on a very small thing, a small stick, which is less than Dalet Tfochim and Dalet Tfochim. We said in the first parak, hanacha always has to be on 4x4, even in reshus harabim. Now, within 3 Tfochim to the ground is like part of the ground. So even if it landed on a tiny sticky stick, pencil thin, it's still called hanacha. And then it flew back in. That's a Rambam. Rashi and other Rishonim say something more audacious. They say something, whoa. Even if it didn't rest on anything, but it was caught mid-air by the wind. I remember when I was in Kita Gimel, we saw such a thing. Still today, I remember a picture in my mind. It was a piece of paper, we threw it, and it was held by the wind, by the current, the cross current for a few seconds. And then it fell. Like the wind holds it. That's the story over here. Wow. If it's lowered to the ground, the power lowered is so much there that even if it stopped mid-air within Gimel, that's called hanocha. And if later something else happened, too late, mister. Or the other way around in the ratio. That's a chiddush. On the other hand, comes another chiddush, on the other direction, although it's lowered, it does need some hanocha. In other words, if it flew out and quickly back in, without stopping bichlal, then you'd be potter. If it was stopped outside Daled Damis, even just by the current of the wind, the wind like held it to me there. It's like these things shake in the middle of the air, like leaves in the winter, in the autumn. Yeah, then you are already called chayiv. It was held by the air within Gimel Tfachim, and then it came back in too late. It's already called hanacha, even though it's just munach in the air. Keilu, it's defeating the laws of physics, kind of keilu, and that's called hanacha as long as it's within Gimel. If it's above Gimel, it won't help because above Gimel is not lovud. You need real hanacha. Within Gimel, we say because it's lovud to the ground, it's kilo on the ground. But you still need some level of hanacha, even a minimal one. Combination of both. That's the rule of the game. We're going to play with that rule back and forth. But you're going to see this in many different aspects now. Omar Tanya Namihachi comes a brisa to support Rabbi Yochanan. That's Rabbi Yochanan's case, right? That's the first case. Tanya Namihachi brisa supporting Rabbi Yochanan. Zoak chutz l'daladamis. Somebody threw an item outside Daladamis. The wind pushed it back. The wind pushed it back into the Daladamis. Even though the wind played with it, it brought it into the area of Daladamis. Then outside Daladamis, right, is potu. Why? Because once the wind brought it in and it didn't rest, right, and then out again, you're potu. There was no rest inside. Yeah, is potu because or you would say that there was some kind of resting inside, and then outside his potu. However, if the first time the wind held it when it was the first time outside the Dalad Amis, this sounds very much like Rashi, not like the Rambam. The wind held it in one place for a few seconds, or for 1 or 2 seconds, mashu a little bit. Which means if the wind pushed him out and in, he's potul. Why? Because the pushing out and in was all one go. Yeah, it was out, but it didn't rest outside. That's the first case. It didn't rest there. The wind was really quick, like out of the daldas and quickly back in without stopping. No stopovers. Then it started within Dalid and ended within Dalid. Happy end. Yeah, all's well, ends well, all's well. Even in the middle, there was no hanacha. But if in the middle of the road, of the trajectory, when it was outside the Daladamis, in the dangerous area, in the danger zone, the wind held it there for a second, and then took it back in too late. The fact it was outside Daladamis, even 1 millimeter, it passed the entire Daladamis and was munach by the wind, as long as it was within 3 tfachim, that's called hanacha and yuchayv. Same thing again. Omar Rove is talking about a case that's a little bit different, similar but a little bit different. Omar Rove. Toich gimel lerabonon tzorich hanoch al gabi mashu. Rove says as follows. You all remember, I believe you remember, from Dafta Zayin with Aleph. Remember what we said over there? Or Zayin with Aleph. That according to Rabbi Akiva, kluta k'mishuncha. According to Rabbi Akiva, if you have something whizzing through, yochid rabim yochid, you're chayiv. Just being absorbed in the reshus, even flying through, it's kilu was munach in the reshus. Chachamim don't believe in kluta k'mishuncha. Chachamim say, well, there's no hanacha, right? If you didn't rest inside the reshus harabim, you're not chayiv. Flying is not called resting. It's not no landing. You don't put on your seatbelt. Mashe'en kezok tov, it won't be within 3. Maybe when it is within 3 to the ground, maybe Rabbanon would sing a different song. Maybe they would agree to kluta k'mishuncha, kind of, when it's within 3 to the ground, because then it's more likely to say that it's kilo magnetized to the lovud of the 3 tvachim to the ground. So maybe, says Rove, don't make that mistake. No, Chachomim are extremely, displeased with the concept of kluta k'mishuncha. I'm reading again. Even within 3 to the ground, when it's more naturally munach, if it didn't rest over something, could be the air, okay, or could be a tiny stick, Rambam Rashi, but if there's no hanacha whatsoever, it's flying through, zooming and whizzing through, that's not called hanacha, even though it's flying very low within 3 tvachim to the ground. Now we have to see Rashi, because what I told you is true. However, Rashi is adding a very, very important nafkamina, which will affect us in the later stage of the sugya. Says Rashi, L'Rabbanon, look Rashi. The last Rashi on the page. L'Rabbanon de pligi alei de Rabbi Akiva bezork m'rshus yochid, rshus yochid, rshus harabim be'emtza, right? Chachamim argue in the case of Yochid, Rabim, Yochid. The leis look lutuk mishuncha. They don't believe in lutuk mishuncha. Lo tema, don't tell me. You have Rashi there? Lo tema. Yeah, here at the bottom. Lo tema b'toch gimel moidu. Don't say, like I told you, that within 3 they admit to Rabbi Akiva that there is, it's called hanacha. Ela afilu toch gimel nami tzorich she'anuach. They say no, we don't believe and anywhere, anytime, ever. We don't believe in kulta kamishuncha, even when it's loved. If it didn't rest and he just whizzed through the whole reshus harabim, you're potter. Now comes Rashi with a big nafkamina, the nafkamina, nami, an additional nafkamina. Listen to this. Before we continue, I want to remind you something that will make it easier for you. Something we learned in Naf Daled, and we're going to learn it also tomorrow or in 2 days' time. And that is trivia quiz. What would be, when can you do an entire Melacha in Shabbos and not be chayv skila, not be chayv chatas, not be chayv anything? You did an entire Melacha.
What's the question?
You committed an entire Melacha in Shabbos, and you're not chayv neither chatas, nor skila, nor chorus.
Benefit of roof.
What do you mean?
For the benefit of 36.
No. Okay, nice try. Okay. No, all nice tries. No, I'm impressed with the knowledge. You got me wrong. I'm sure people at home also has many nice ideas. The concept is like this: you only have chatas if you are unaware that it's Shabbos through and through, or lo aleinu, you're amazed it through and through. But let's say you were throwing, you guys, the Americans, you play baseball, I don't, yeah? You, a big pitch, yeah? You threw, yeah? From reshus harabim to reshus hayochid, a very, very long throw. At the beginning, you thought it's Sunday, and then you saw people who Malach walking down the street. Oh, it's Shabbos. If in the middle of the Malacha or Bishul, remember Daf Daled? I put it in the oven, in the middle of the process, I realized it's Shabbos. If it starts with Shoigig and finishes with Mezid, or the other way around, my mindset changed in the middle of the Malacha, I'm potter. Because I'm nishta'in nishta'her. I'm not Mezid nor Shoigig. That's actually a rule we're going to see later on in our own parak. Now says Rashi, V'nafkamina nami. The second to last line. This is this case over here. Yeah? A person is throwing, look, daladamis, and it's about to land in the ground. The item hit 3 tfachim above the ground, and in literally half a second, it's going to hit the ground. If you say this is already called munach, then he finished the malacha over here, because it's already called a nocha. And if you say that this is a nocha, then only here he finished the malacha. Nafkamina, if he had a change of mind, which can happen half a second here. Let's say he realized, oh, it's Shabbos. Then we say, oh, the malacha is not over yet. And now you started b'shoigig and you finished b'mezid. But if you said that it finished already, what happened after you finish malacha doesn't affect you anymore. That's enough kamina. Let's see it's inside Rashi. Zog da adamis, ukshebala nuach ve'gia l'torch gimel, that half a second of being gimel, but before the final landing, nizkal shegigosoi, oi, light bulb, it's Shabbos, it's also, ad shaloi nach potur, he's already potur. Why? Because he didn't yet finish the malacha. So he did 90% with one mindset, 10% the other way. We don't say, 3 tfachim, game over, it's munach. What happens after the 3 tfachim is kilu done deal. We don't say that. 3 tfachim is not called munach yet. Very good. Marema was excited and he was teaching that new, very interesting idea of Rove. He was teaching in Besmedrash. Ravina told Marema, what's the chiddush? Lav hainu masnisin. What Rove says is the same as Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan, v'ushanachel gav mashu, right? It's the same idea, yeah? Both Rabbi Yochanan, in the case of Dalad Ames going out and in, and Rove with the item that's about to fall, they both say the same thing, that you always need hanacha. Don't give me that shtick they both say of being within 3 tfachim is munach even though it's flying. No, being within 3 still requires hanacha. So what's Rove mechadish? What's Rove telling me that I didn't know from the Mishnah with Rabbi Yochanan? Omar Lei, it's not the same. Why? Misgalgel come out. You compare Rove to Misgalgel. Misgalgel ain't soifol lanuach. Misgalgel, what's her trajectory? It's not landing here. It's about to land and whoop, it goes inside to a different place. It changed the direction, right? And therefore, over here, what do we say? That that's not called hanacha. Because why should I call it hanacha within 3? It's not about to land on the ground. You see the other side, you'll get it better. Aval hai, the case of Rov is the bigger chiddush. Given the soifer lanuach, Afal gav deloinach, because it's about in half a second to continue the same trajectory, the same route, and it's about to fall. Afal gav deloinach, even though it didn't yet fall, keman denachdami, come on, it's going to happen in half a second. So the potential is half a second from here, and we know it's going to happen unless a Leonovic flies in, yeah. And maybe that's already called nach kamash malan. Let me explain. We know many areas in halacha. We had it here. We had it in the morning shir. Halacha believes a lot in potential. Kol haroy lebila and bila makeves boy. Right? Anything that is almost there, it's kill already there. Like klutik mishulcha. That's what Rekiva says, right? It's already there. Yalla, shine. It's already there. Yeah. You say to someone a second before you enter the door of your apartment after a long day's work, I'm home. Is that a big sheker? You have a second from home. In half a second, you say wife and kids. You can't talk on the phone. I'm not really home. Maybe you want to be more emphatic. You're already there. Therefore, there's a stronger havamina. By the case of Rabbi Yochanan, of course, it's not hanacha. It's not about to fall here. It really changed direction. So that's not called hanacha. It's not belonging to any normal direction. Here, though, it's about to fall, and it did. So maybe if it's here and it's almost there, maybe here it's already called hanacha because it's going to happen very, very soon. So if it's lavud to what's about to happen in half a second, no shine. Maybe that's already called hanacha, and that's a bigger chiddush than Rabbi Yochanan. That's what Rabbi says. No, no, no. Even there, we don't believe in lavud, and we don't believe in something that will happen in a second. And therefore, if you change your mind at that point, you're still puddle. It's a kula. From shogig you turned mazid or the other way around, you're still kula because you didn't really finish a job yet. So you'd be potter from both any chiyuvim. Okay? But I'm impressed with your suggestions. Very nice. But it's not the issue over here. Yes, quick. You have questions? Yeah?
It's subjective. I mean, it's completely subjective and what's in the person's mind. He can say whatever he wants.
No, here we don't say that. Here halacha defines what's called hanacha and what's not. And it's really not up to him so much because the object is either about to fall or it's not.
But can't he say, oh, but I didn't realize at that point in time.
He's going to lie.
Exactly.
No, there's no point of lying by Chattis. Chattis is between you and Hashem, not based in. So you're losing yourself. It's like lying to Hashem on Yom Kippur and say, on Yom Kippur, Chattis is your own thing. But I like the question. Zog the Mishnah. Oh, let's talk about the sea and the sea being a Karmelis. Zog the Mishnah Kufa Mud Beis. Yeah, yes, okay. Azoyrek bayam arba amos potu. That's clear. The person who throws in the sea and the sea is Karmelis. Daladamas, you play with your kid in not you forgot it Shabbos. You went to the sea to the beach and you're playing, ball daladamas. Not also potu. Why you potu? Well, also it's a Karmelis. Karmelis is the rabbanon. Now let's talk about something very interesting. You have a little puddle, which is not so little dafka actually. It's not little. You have a big puddle in the street. We had that already in Daf Chesamud Beis. What happens when you have a puddle in the street, and that puddle is not reshus hayochid? That puddle is rather big, yeah, and people walk through the puddle. What's a puddle really? It's basically going down and up again. It's like a small valley in the street, and it's full of water, right? And you walk, you and your friends. It's a you don't like to go into a puddle. You don't have your boots on, right? And you're above the age of 3, so you don't like puddles, right? So you walk in and out of kind of no choice. But as long as we'll see in the mission, it's not too deep to be considered a new reshus, and people do walk through it, the chiddush is alidei hadchak hiluch alidei hadchak shmei hiluch, walking through an unpleasant place down and up again, which is also full of water, which is like a different reshus. As long as it's walkable and some people use it, the less finicky ones, it's still considered reshus harabim. Okay, it's still reshus harabim. Let's see. Zog the Mishnah. Azarik bayam arba amas potur. Thank you. Imo rakak mayim. You have a puddle. Mayim v'reshus harabim me'aleches boy. You have a reshus harabim walking into it, meaning it's a thoroughfare. Not so good, but people do walk through it. If you threw from anywhere into a daladamis, you threw something stone into it, it's reshus harabim. The kama rakakmaim pochas masot fochim, meaning if at the deepest point it's 10 fochim, then it's a new reshus, and then it's not reshus harabim anymore. If at the nadir, the lowest point, it's 9 fochim, and people walk that down and up again, then it's still called reshus harabim. Surprisingly, the Rishonim say it's not reshus yochid, it's 10 tefachim down, it's a Karmelis. Because it says the Meiri Yesoted, it's like the sea. It's like a small sea. How big does the sea have to be? Yeah, in other words, basically, it's a reservoir of water in the middle of the street. Even in summer, it's there. And therefore, it's called Kilu, the sea in the street with 10 tefachim. If it's less than 10, 9 tefachim, and people walk through sometimes, it's considered as still reshus harabim. And the Mishnah repeats itself twice. Same thing, copy and paste. This could be work great with a Word document, lavdil. Same thing again. The Mishnah deliberately repeats itself twice. It's a rakak mine. People walk through it. They walk through it like that. Yeah, and the person who throws inside is chayiv. And the obvious question is, the Mishnah is the Mishnah. It's not a newspaper, Chalila. So why is it repeating the same thing twice? Like we got the idea once, right? The first time. One of the Talmidei Yeshiva asked Rove, I understand why the Mishnah had to repeat twice the word hiluch, to tell me that if somebody walks through reshus harabim, and again, walk, we saw this recently in Makkos, sometimes when Mishnah or the Torah repeats the same word twice, it comes to include something else. Let's say I want to ask you for Coke. I hate Coke and it's unhealthy, but let's ask you, give me Coke, you're not sure, Coke, Pepsi, whatever, maybe Sprite. I say, give me Coke, Coke. Obviously, that's Lapuki, Pepsi, or Sprite, right? Coke, Coke. Twice. It's coming, it's exclusive. So when you say hiluch twice, zimni, it's coming to tell you that hakamashmal, it's coming to tell me hiluch alidei adchak shmei hiluch, tashmish alidei adchak lo shmei tashmish, which means that there's something reminding us of Daf Ches. If you walk alidei adchak, I wasn't joking before. When people walk through the puddle, it's unpleasant. They have no choice. What can you do? You're rushing to work. You're rushing to shul. You walk through the puddle, moisra nefesh. You're not happy with that. It's not ideal, right? And it's still called hiluk. That's really the message of the Mishnah. As opposed to what? If you remember, tashmish alidat chak is, if you remember, what happens if you have a pit in the middle of the street, not 10 tefachim, you have a 4x4 by 9, and some people hide their stuff there. As they're walking, they store their bags there, and then they keep walking. So it's kind of the use of the rabim. But it's a use of the chak. It's very deep. It's not so pleasant. It's not really part of my gate. As opposed to, if you remember, if we had 9 tefachim pillar, which is 9 tefachim high, and I adjust my backpack on that thing, on that night, then it's called reshus harabim, because it's not chak. Our Mishnah says that walking by chak is reshus harabim. Using reshus harabim for other needs, if it's only the chak, it's not called reshus harabim. A pit in the street that I can use to store my stuff and then quickly walk out, it's not so much part of the walking to start storing. It's chak. It's not part of my regular use, and therefore that area is not called reshus harabim. But walking on the chak, walking through an area, but people do walk, no choice. That is called reshus harabim for all intents and purposes. You threw something from the house to that puddle, a stone that fell inside. Being careful because of yesterday's sugya. Very nice. However, Ella, why did we have to repeat the word puddle twice? I know it's a puddle. What do you think it is? Or says Rashi even better, why did you give me another example of a chak? Why do you talk about a thorny place, a dangerous place? If you want to talk to me about something which is a chak, why do you repeat the same example twice of a puddle and again a puddle? Answers the Gemara, beautiful. It's repeating puddle twice, the term, to tell me sometimes to walk through the puddle in the summer is worse, and sometimes there's a reason to say the walking through the puddle in the winter is worse. That's worse, I mean less likely and more d'chak, more b'di'evid. Everything will be explained. V'tzrichi. You need both cases of summer and winter. Let's say the Mishnah would have told me, walking through the puddle is still called reshus harabim because it's not so d'chak. It's d'chak minus. Avamina, I would have thought, I would say, when walking through the puddle is not so bad, in the summer, how hot is it in the summer in Rabat Bet Shemesh? 30 degrees Celsius. It's very hot. Let's cool ourselves down. Yeah, David inchi de masgi. Some people deliberately go in. It's fun. La kurin afshayu. Go inside. The water is cool. Yeah, and let's go in to have a little bit of a splash. It's nice. I would have thought that's not sodchak. That's still called normal to walk through. I will be moist geshomim loy, Baruch Hashem. The winter, more cold? You crazy? I'm already half sick in the winter as it is. I don't need more cold water. I'll stay away from there. So maybe I would have said that this is so dchak that it's not reshus harabim. Kamash malan, that even in Mosag Shamim, people do walk through because they have no choice, and it's still called reshus harabim. It's not called crazy. Those 40-30% people who walk through, they're not nutcases. They have to go through, even though they may get sick. It feels cold and unpleasant. You got to rush to work. You got to rush to kollel. The Rosh Kollel will kick you out. You got to go through. Yeah. Via Shmin and B'Mosag Shomim. Oh, so why can the Mishnah tell me the bigger chiddush? So tell me only the bigger chiddush, Mosag Shomim. And I would say, if in Mosag Shomim, Kol Shekin in the summer, it's better. Because in the summer, it's better to go through the puddle, right? So tell me the bigger chiddush. There's an opposite perspective here. Baruch Hashem, the Kevin the mitanfi lo ichpaslu. Think about hygiene, dirt. We Jewish people are always clean. The puddles are not clean places. In the winter, your clothes are likely to be less clean. There's mud and rain and this, right? And you're not so clean anyways. Yalla, let's walk through the puddle. Yeah, my wife wouldn't mind. I will be moisachama. You walk white, nice clothes, it's clean, right? The street is clean. I'm not going to get myself dirty. Loy. I would have thought maybe not. Maybe people don't walk through, and those who do is a meshuna thing. Kamash malan, both summer and winter, each one with its plus and minus, pro and con, it's considered as still within the norm to walk through. And in spite of the dchak, in spite of the shortcomings of walking through the puddle, and since some people brave it and walk through, it's called reshus harabim. Very good. Now, Abai Omer. Abai gives you another answer. Abai says as follows. Itzrich. There's another reason why we need to mention two cases. Nothing to do winter and summer or spring or fall. It's to do with what? With the size of the puddle. Salkadat Chamina. If the Mishnah would have told me once, puddle, rekak, Hanimili, I would have thought, let's say the distance is not daladamis, right? It's less than daladamis. Less than daladamis, I'll walk it. What's the other option for those who are really feinschmecker people, snobbish people from North Tel Aviv? Yeah, where do they? Yeah, how would they walk? They can't walk through. Where would they go? They'll circumvent it. Yeah, they'll pass by, which is a longer walk. Oh, when it's less than daladamis, it's normal to walk through. Yeah, because it's shorter to walk directly the 3.5 amis, right? Than to do the whole sivuv, to turn around and circumvent all the way there. Then it's not so dchak. It's logical to, like short and quick. Sometimes, you have a medical procedure. I want the hard one, but quick. Yeah, walk through the less than daladamis. We did it rather than start walking all around. When the walking through is Halachos of Hotza'a is always important. When it's daladamis, it's too much to walk. Oh, so much. Maybe then a kufi makfile. Maybe then it's more normal to walk around. And those who walk through are not normal people. Yeah. If it's daladamis to walk so much through instead of just walking around the whole place, yeah, maybe that's more normal. Kamash malan, we don't care. As long as some people walk through, whether it's short or long, yeah, they decide to walk through and not pass the whole thing around, it's still called normal enough, although it's tchak, even though the size is longer, and it's considered as normal enough to be reshus harabim. That's answer number 2. Ravashi Omar. Now Ravashi says, Ravashi Omar, third answer. What's the other option, my friends? No, be creative and technical. Yeah. Let's say I have something I don't want to go through. I can either walk through, or I can walk all around, or I can Olympic jump over, right? I can actually jump over. What? There's no bridge there. There's no bridge. That would be the area has to build a bridge. No bridge. Yeah, let's leap and jump over. Well, we're not all athletes. Why do we need 2 cases of puddles? I would have thought, when it's like semi-normal and still called normal reshus harabim, heicha dehava daled Meaning, when it's Daled, here's Machlokes Rambam and Rashi, and each one has his friends, either Daled Amis or Daled Tfochim, much less than an Amma. Yeah. Again, the distance is jumpable, is leapable, right? They have a Daled, let's say it's 4 Amis. 2 meters, you think I'm an Avresh Kotel? Do you think you can jump the whole thing? Of course, it's normal to walk through. Block my nose and go to the dry cleaner tomorrow and walk through. Yeah, I'm gonna jump. You think I'm gonna me walking through is normal. When it's less than Dalid Amis or Dalid Fochim, Mifsi Pasile, they walk above, they jump above. Yeah, they're like, well, stride. They make a long stride, right? And maybe therefore it's not called reshus harabim. Interesting. That's a chiddush. Maybe if there's an area that people don't go in, they easily, kind of, leap and stride through. Even the old ladies manage, dalit fochim, right? So maybe the area underneath is not reshus harabim. Kamash malan that it is reshus harabim. Why is it reshus harabim? People really don't walk there. Rabashi follows his own reason. The Omar of Ashi, Haiman de Zarik, Venach Guda de Gamla, Mechayev, Sharabim Boykin Boy. The case is as follows. You spoke about a bridge, very nice. The case is like this. I'm sorry. What happens when you have a bridge? I'm combining Hirashi and Ritva. The bridge has many slabs. It has many slabs, many stages, right? Many planks. And one of the planks is not so stable, says the Ritva. And Rashi says it's a bit far apart from the others. Everybody knows, when you on that bridge, slot number 5, plank number 5, don't walk there. Every mommy tells her children, it's not stable. And people basically skip it. Let's say I threw something dafka from reshus hayochid to that slab, to that plank. Am I potu? No. Even though people don't actively step on it, it's still part of reshus harabim. As we said, you don't have market and read in reshus harabim. Reshus harabim is a general place. So even if people walk over it and not in it, they don't step in it, it's still called reshus harabim. And that's the chiddush. Even a rakak, the people jump over or step over, and they don't walk in the rakak. They really don't. It's different to the other answers. It's still called part of reshus harabim because it's still part of the party. It's part of the story. Even though you're not walking in, don't be so yekish. It's still part of the place. People walk above it, over it. It's still called reshus harabim in Yuchayev. Rabim Boykin Boy. The Rabim Boykin Boy. It's still called the place where the Rabim, a thoroughfare, people walk through. And now we're going to talk about a boat. Says the Mishnah. Did you get my chart today? Yes, no, yes, no. You were emailed. Zog the Mishnah. No. A person throws from the sea. We saw that before, right? From the sea, Mamish the sea is playing ball with his friend. Yeah, from the sea to the Yabosha. What's Yabosha? Let's say anywhere in the Yabosha, even reshus harabim, or from reshus harabim to the sea. What is that? Are you chayev? No. What's a yam? Karmelis. Karmelis to reshus harabim also, but it's puddle. Oh, what about a boat is reshus hayochid? It's sfina, big or small. It's at least 10 tfachim and 4 tfachim, right? Area. So yochid to the Karmelis to the yochid. What is it? Your potter. Because yochid to the Karmelis. That's interesting. You have 2 boats. They're both reshus ha-yochid. Reshus yochid 1. You throw it in the middle of the sea. I throw from one reshus hayochid to the other reshus hayochid over mokum ptur, and it is potu. Why isn't it allowed? Because l'chayra they belong to different people, as we'll see now. Yeah, you have a yacht and you have a yacht. I assume you do, right? So, yeah, you throw from your yacht to your yacht, and reshus hayochid to yochid. Then what? It's meikar din okay, but it's different reshusim, and you didn't do eruv chatzeres in the middle of the ocean. You can, as we'll see soon, but you didn't. So you're potter. Just like a place with no Eruv, you can't move even within the same apartment building. The city with no Eruv. I don't know, Chapapachka or I don't know, Idaho, no Eruv. Yeah, you can't move with the same apartment building from one apartment to the other. Can't. I mean, to transfer. Same thing over here with the boats. The boats are reshus hayochid, poshut like that. Now continues the Mishnah. Sfinas kshuras zu bezu. Oh, we're going on a yacht trip together to the Caribbeans. And now Ben Azmanim, the sphinas are tied to each other. They're not moored to the port, to the pier. They're just tied to each other, all the sphinois. Metatalin mizu lezu. As long as we did Erev Chatzeros between us, all the different boat owners, and we tied the boats to each other, once there's an Erev Chatzeros, well, you can't do that. Erev Chatzeros in the middle of the sea. Yeah, you have a whole village of sphinos all attached to each other. Bevakasha, you're allowed to be metatal. You did Erev Chatzeros. The Rishonim said they're not me. But let's say they're not tied. They touch each other, but they're not tied to each other. And you did Erev Chatzeres and Metatul Mezulazu. Your Erev Chatzeres is very cute, but what? How can you be sure that the boats are not going to drift away? They're not tied to each other. But when it's in normal, safe land, you do Erev Chatzeres for all the residents of George Washington #3. Very nice. All together, Me'urav. It's boats that are not tied to each other. What kind of fun Erev Chatzeres you did? They're all going to drift away, right? They're all going to sail away. And therefore, the Erev Chatzeres doesn't work. That's not the issue today, by the way. We'll discuss tomorrow. Now we're discussing the beginning of the Mishnah. There's no time, as usual. Sfina. What happens if you're in a boat? Some Rishonim say, Rashi says Yam, the Ritva thing says the river. Why am I saying this? You need water, either sweet water to drink, or you need water to wash. And you're trying to draw water on Shabbos. You're in the Sfina. You're allowed to be in the Sfina on Shabbos. You're not allowed to sail on Thursday or Friday, but you started to sail before. There's a Goyish guy who's sailing, whatever, it doesn't matter. Now you have the Sfina. You want to draw water from the sea. That's the boat is in the sea, and draw the water and bring it into the boat. Ravuna Omar Mutzinim and Aziz Kolshu Memale. Ravuna says that's okay, no problem. All you have to do is, as we'll see later, create a symbolic. Take out the ziz. Listen to this. You have to take a small ziz, a small protrusion, piece of wood, make a hole in it, says the Gro, the Gon Vilna, and then you draw in and out through that piece of wood. It's just a symbolic thing to show something we'll see later. But conceptually, it's okay to draw water lechatchila from the ocean to the boat. No problem. Lechatchila. You may ask from the Mishnah, I know, but it's allowed, and soon you'll see why. Now, Rav Chisda v'Rabbi v'Ravuna, Rav Chisda Rabbi v'Ravuna argue, and they say, Amri, oy semokam abo mimale. They say, no. You have to have a proper 4x4 by 10 tefachim, my friend. You have to have a proper, like a chute. You have to have a 4x4 hole and surrounded by walls of 10 tefachim, i.e., you have to create reshus yochid, and through that reshus yochid, you can basically bring down the bucket, draw the water up through the reshus yochid, and only then it's okay. And that reshus yochid has to go down into the ocean or bordering on the ocean. Only then it's okay. What's the story? What's going on over here? Ravuna Oma, Zokta Ravuna. Why is that? Ravuna Oma, the Gemara will explain both sides. Ravuna Oma, Moitzi Ben Aziz Kolshu Memale. Why? This is a very, very basic thing. When you come home, please open your computers and look at the chart. Kasovar, Karmelis Me'ar Amashchinan. The Karmelis, what does it mean when we say the sea is Karmelis, my friends? Where does it start? Says Rav Huna, the Karmelis starts from the seabed, from the bottom of the sea. Could be kilometers below. Yeah, that's where Mashchinan will measure the first 10 tefachim in the bottom of the sea. That's Karmelis. I want to remind you, my friends, Daf Zayin Amud Aleph in the bottom of the page. Karmelis goes like reshus harabim. How far up? 10 tefachim. Very good. 10 tefachim. 10 tefachim above ground in Karmelis is already mokum ptur. So Rav Huna is being very mekel. The 10 first tefachim in the bottom of the sea, where all the corals are and the weird fish, yeah, that's where those 10 tefachim, they are Karmelis. But most of the ocean is already mokum ptur. No problem to be memale. It's very unlikely you'll get so deep into the water with your bucket. So really, when you draw water with your bucket from the sea, very likely you're drawing water from a mokum ptur, because it's above the first 10 tefachim. That's the name of the game of Rav Huna. You start measuring from the seabed, from the bottom of the sea. The air above the sea is mokum ptur, and the Rishonim say what I told you. Even most of the sea is mokum ptur. Even under the sea, yeah, above the first 10 tefach, mokum ptur. Ubedino disease nami lo libai. Maker, you don't even need that little ziz. Ela ki hechi denai v'lei kera. The ziz is there because people are confused. They think that the sea is Karmelis. And if they see you drawing water from the ocean to your boat, they'll think Karmelis is okay. So make a symbolic make believe like reshus hayochid, not real reshus hayochid. So when your child grows up, he'll know, I can't carry from Karmelis to the house. The boat, there was something different. That's all you need. Why did the Mishnah say Potter of David? Because Potter means if you didn't do that heker, it's usher. But if you do the heker, the floor is yours. Excuse the pun. Rav Chisda v'Rabbi Baravuna Amri, no, much more machmir. They said, no. You have to make the water go through a real reshus hayochid. Kasavi Karmelis misvas mayim ashchinan. Oh my gosh, you hear that? They say you start measuring Karmelis first and tefachim from above the sea level. Maya aras michta. The water is like the ground. Get it? So the first 10 tefachim of the air above the sea, they're the Karmelis. So when you draw water from the Karmelis, which is the sea, you're taking from Karmelis, right, through Karmelis, through Malkum Ptur. It doesn't help you to go through Malkum Ptur. You went from Karmelis, non-stop into reshus hayochid, bad boy. You took from Karmelis, up through Malkum, through your Malkum Yochid, reshus hayochid, your boat, osir. Yeah, you love it Malkum Abokim, metatil mekamas reshus hayochid. Therefore, you have to have reshus hayochid where on the sea, and then you're drawing, and your entire thing is all the time. Reshus hayochid goes up and down. Reshus hayochid, we say gudachis gudasik, and therefore the walls of reshus hayochid that are touching the seabed, it's kilo, all the water underneath are also reshus hayochid, and all the water above. Everything above, it's all one big reshus hayochid. But if you don't do that, it's bad. You take from the Karmelis, through Karmelis, because the first netfach were also Karmelis in the air, into your boat. Bad. Therefore, you need to do that. Right? Okay, we don't have time to be continued. Tomorrow, Omer Rav Nachman. Tomorrow, holding Rav Nachman. Okay, thank you very much. Atzlocho bracha. Good Elul has to be very strong. We can't have another year like we had now. So let's get stronger. Come tomorrow, come every day. Atzlocho bracha. Thank you to Torah Anytime on YouTube.